So when Rivian announced their earnings back on February 21st, the stock sold off roughly 50%, but since then it has reached a short-term bottom. And since then, Rivian announced the unveiling of two different models, but they weren't going to be available anytime soon. Nevertheless, that was good to spike the price higher. Again, number one, technically, price was oversold. But then, the market saw that news as good news. They also announced that they were going to save some money in terms of plant production and utilization. However, Wall Street likes to play a lot of different tricks on retail investors. So kind of pulling out to the weekly chart. Thus far, it's setting up for a nice sell-off. And one particular analyst thinks that we could see a $9 price for Rivian, which would be new all-time lows. So before we continue with the analysis, let's look at why this UBS analyst thinks price is going to $9. So last week, Rivian unveiled not one but two prospective EVs, the slimmed down R2 electric SUV and an unexpected R3 electric hatchback. But investors beware. Monday morning, investment bank UBS warned investors that not all is well with Rivian. Despite raising its price target a bit to account for the potential gains of having two new vehicles to sell, UBS nevertheless retained its sell rating with a price target of $9, which would mean price would fall 27% from current levels. Now, the Swiss banker praised Rivian's decision to postpone construction of a new factory in Georgia and begin building its new R2 EV at its existing plant in Illinois. Instead, UBS did observe that this move would save Rivian more than $2.5 billion. But its concern is cash flow. Since the IPO 2 years ago, they have burned $10 billion out of $18 billion in cash since the IPO. Now, even if Rivian holds its existing levels of cash burn flat, he doesn't see how the company can accomplish that, and UBS has concerns as well. The analysts predict Rivian will need to sell more shares to raise more cash to bring R2 to the market, and the logical time to do that would be now when the stock price is flying high. Questionable. Of course, more shares sold means less ownership interest in Rivian per share that investors own today. Essentially, you're diluting the shareholder value if you have to sell more cash, have to sell more stock for cash. And that in itself could cause price to move lower. So again, this is the setup. It doesn't change. I'm looking for price to move higher, only for sellers to step in near that 16 level and then drop. Now, I do have a $5 price target. Will it get there? I'm thinking probability is less that it gets there than it doesn't. Can we see new all-time lows? Most certainly. Can price get to $8? Most certainly. But only time will tell. So kind of going back to the daily chart. Right now you can see most recent price action. You have these sell wicks at 1350, but you do have this gap higher, which could get filled at about 11. The question is, are we forming a trend on the shorter term time frame, which is the daily, as you have a low, higher high? Are we putting in a higher low only to then see a higher high? Only time will tell, but this is the level that I'm watching, and until then I can't pay attention to all this sideways price action. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. See you on the next video.